What's going on, guys? Gino checking back here for another video today. First of all, I would like to thank all the new subscribers that came from Face Jasper's channel. Really appreciate all the support. I've gained quite a lot of subscribers from that collab that I did with Jasper, so welcome to all the new subscribers. Hope you enjoy the videos. Alright, so in this video I'm going to be going over 10 common gym mistakes that I've selected and see happen in the gym all the time, that I wanted to give some information on so that you guys don't make these common gym mistakes and that you can avoid them at all costs. Alright, so without further ado, let's get to the video. Alright, so I see these mistakes happen all the time in the gym, whether it's like things to do with supplements or form, exercises and so forth. That's really just unnecessary and can only harm your progress if you do it too much. So I selected 10 of these mistakes that I'm going to bust right now so that you guys don't make these mistakes. Alright, so the first mistake is buying these amazing supplements that do so much wonders for your muscles, which is actually just pretty much bullshit. One of the most common asked questions is, do you use protein shakes? Do you use creatine? Do you use testosterone boosters or whatever? Because a lot of people think that these things are like magic wonder stuff or something that will like make your muscles grow like 10 times as fast, which is actually not the case. That's all marketing from the supplement companies. They will put it on the label that it'll like improve your muscle recovery 10 times as fast. Which it actually doesn't. Whey protein is just whey protein, which is actually a byproduct from the production of milk. And same for creatine. It does increase your power output and the fullness of your muscle through the water that you hold intracellular. But things like testosterone boosters do not actually improve your testosterone that much that it will have such a positive impact on your muscles. Because if it would have had such an amazing results on your muscle gain, it would have been on the doping list, like honestly. A really good site that I know of is examine.com, which contains almost like every supplement on the market and goes over, the proper details and information that you need on the supplement and what it actually does. Compared to those amazing myths that you always hear in the gym or on the label of the supplement and so forth. Alright, so the second gym mistake that I would like to cover is believing in food myths. So how many times have you heard either one of these sentences? You have to eat every 2 hours, you have to eat 6 to 8 small meals a day, to keep your metabolism running and so forth. You can only eat clean. If you eat junk food, you'll die. All these kind of like common things that you hear in the gym and outside the gym, whatever, or by these fitness gurus. Yeah, that's all bullshit. The only thing that you actually really have to focus on the most is getting in your total macronutrient goals for the day, and which will eventually lead to you hitting your calorie goal for the day, whether it is if you want to burn fat or gain muscle. Focusing too much on these little things will only make you stress out more, on the subject, which will eventually and even hinder your progress if you stress over it too much. So the best thing to do is focus on the big picture. Hit your macros, hit your calories, and go from there. Right, the third mistake is skipping warm-ups. How many times have you seen someone going into the gym that can bench like, what, 225 or 100 kg? They go into the gym, don't even do a shoulder mobility warm-up and so forth. They go to the gym, put 135 on the bar without even like touching the bar. Do that for like, what, 5 reps and then go immediately to their working sets. Now, if you do that, that's fine, it looks tough as fuck, like seriously, but you will get injured, trust me. What I always advise people to do is, for an upper body workout or for a lower body workout, at least do some shoulder mobility, some rotator cuff warm-ups, warming up with the bar, for example, for a few reps, and working up to your working sets step by step, so that you don't strain like your pec muscles or whatever you're training at that particular moment. Right, the fourth mistake is skipping compound movements. I see it happen so many times. People come in the gym and instead of going to the bench press, which is like the most important exercise for gaining muscle in your pec muscles, they go to the chest fly. The most common reason people do that is because the chest fly is an exercise you feel the most because you get a nice stretch on the muscle. But the chest fly isn't really a mass building exercise. A common misconception that people have with compound movements is that they don't feel the muscle work or being isolated. So people stray to those exercises that they feel the muscle work the most. But a compound movement is known for using multiple muscles at a time. Meaning you're not gonna use just your chest muscles. But on the flip side, these compound movements are really effective for applying progressive overload, which is, the stimulus that will eventually make your muscles grow. Right, the fifth mistake that I would like to cover is maxing out every workout. And Me personally, I'm gonna have to be honest here, I was a victim of this a couple of years ago. I would like try to max out on every single compound lift that I did, because I thought that would make me progress the most, since you're training really heavy. But that's not really the case. You know, there's a big difference between testing your 1 rep max and increasing your 1 rep max. And that's a big difference between applying certain rep ranges in your training routine. You will like eventually, for example, build more strength if you would like use 5x5 for example on your compound lifts and increase the weight of the bar like 5 pounds every workout, than to continuously do like your 1 rep max every workout and not see a single bit of progress at all. One of the biggest reasons is that people do this is because for example, it's like the first time that you hit 225 or 100 kg on the bar for the bench press. So you would like to do that like every single workout because it just feels amazing moving that kind of weight. But at the end of the day, if you keep maxing out, your central nervous system will get burned out. And that will mean that you have to take a deload like every 2 weeks because you're simply just asking too much of your body. So to counter this mistake, I would like to advise people that do this to start programming your workouts. Say for example your max is 100 kg like I said. Try working with 80 kg for 5 sets of 5 repetitions. This is what happened to me personally, so this is a really good example. You know, and if you've done the 5x5, try to increase 5 pounds in total, you know, to the bar the next workout and continue doing that 5x5. And eventually, you know, all these small steps will be a huge step at the end of the month or at the end of a couple months. Right? The 6th common gym mistake is resting too little or resting too much. And I don't mean like rest time in between your sets, but I mean in total for the week. You see it happen all the time. People go into the gym with the idea that they want to train every single day, which will eventually, you know, get you a lot of progress. Because if you do it correctly and train your muscles frequently enough, you will stimulate protein synthesis to a point that you will gain more muscle. But on the flip side, you know, if you go into the gym with the idea that you want to train every day, that will get to the better of you most of the time. Because people are not like used to going every day compared to, you know, not going to the gym at all. You know, on the other hand, people often have the misconception that they have to rest a lot more because, you know, muscles grow when you're resting is the common misconception that people have. Up to a certain point, that's right, but there are certain things that you have to keep in mind when it comes to, you know, training frequently enough, and that's the stimulation of protein synthesis, which is what will actually like make your muscles grow. Because for example, if you have a split where you're training like chest and triceps on Monday, back and shoulders on Wednesday, legs and arms on Friday, that's pretty much a muscle stimulation of 1 time a week, which isn't that much and it's actually not enough, you know, to stimulate protein synthesis up to a point that your muscles are going to be constantly in a growing state. What I always advise people to do is to try to slowly but gradually increase the frequency that they're going to the gym. Like for example, you can begin with 3 times of full body or 4 times of a upper lower split. And then eventually work up to a certain point that you are comfortable with, you know, when it comes to the amount of times that you're going to the gym per week. And the 7th common gym mistake is training abs every day. I see this happen so many times, it's unbelievable. For some reason, a lot of people think that abs are a muscle that needs to be trained every day in order to see any kind of like ab development or fat loss in the abdominal area. When you come to think of it logically, your abs are just as much of a muscle as your pecs and your delts and your arms. They need enough rest, you know, in order to grow upon the point that you've broken the muscle down to. So training abs every day is not going to make you lose any more belly fat. It's not going to make your abs pop more. The most reason people think that it works is because you're feeling your ab muscles contracted every day. Which will probably make them feel a little bit tighter, but that's the same if you were to like train chest every day. It'll feel good, but it's not making your muscles grow, and at the end of the day you're not making any progress. So what I advise people to do is, if you want to train your abs more frequently, at least put a rest day in between the days that you're training your abs. Because if you're not allowing your abs to have at least a day rest in between, the muscle protein synthesis will not have enough time to actually like be completed. So you're constantly breaking down muscle, which needs to be repaired. Upon the point that your muscles are being repaired, you're actually breaking them down again. So it's not going to be a linear graph of, you know, muscle recovery. You're actually going in a wave, which is not really effective. So at least put a day of rest in between your training every muscle that you're training to see, you know, linear progress, which is what you should strive for eventually. The 8th common gym mistake is not tracking your progress. A lot of people who go into the gym, you know, throw some weight on the bar, do it for a couple of reps, then increase the weight, then put the weight down and so forth. They're just basically going in a vicious circle of staying at the same weight and using the same amount of reps and so forth. What you should do instead is, like I covered in one of the previous common gym mistakes, pick a certain weight that you could do for like X amount of sets, X amount of reps and so forth, and tracking your progress on like a notepad or on your phone. By doing this, you will get a visual perspective of where you're at, and in a couple of months you can see, if you've made the linear progress that you need to make in order to make your muscles grow. Alright, the 9th common gym mistake is just going through the motions and not focusing on actually feeling your muscles do the work that they're supposed to be doing. For example, you can do like pull downs and stuff and do it in a way that you can only like feel your biceps contract instead of working the lats. So if you have this problem, I highly suggest that you lighten the load and really focus on the muscles that you're trying to work while performing that certain exercise. Like for example, on the pull down, think constantly about your back being contracted and your back being fully stretched. And you can also name it like creating a mind-muscle connection, which at the end of the day is really important for, increasing the time under tension and the progression you can make. Because if you're not feeling the muscle work, it's highly unlikely that the muscle is actually going to grow as well. So focus on, the muscle contraction and the muscle stretch, and actually feeling the muscle work with whatever exercise you are doing at that moment. Alright, the last common gym mistake that I would like to cover is putting weight over form. Now I see this mistake happen a lot of times, especially for the people who make the mistake of maxing out every workout. They will put so much emphasis on moving the weight in any way, shape or form possible that they will have a really high chance of getting an injury, which is basically not what you want if you would like to make gains or lose fat, because then you will have to be in a state that you can keep going to the gym and not go to the hospital because you did a stupid thing with the bench press or the deadlift, for example. So just like I covered in the last couple of mistakes that I covered, pick a certain weight that you can do for a certain amount of reps and build from there, instead of putting so much emphasis on moving the weight up, which will probably lead to injuries. Alright, so these were 10 common gym mistakes that I selected. I hope I covered these mistakes well enough so that you guys have enough information to not make these mistakes anymore or can avoid them. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure to smash that thumbs up button because it really helps out the channel grow. Comment down below, subscribe to the channel for so much more content coming really soon. I'm out guys, and peace out. See you in the next one.